Hey everyone, my name is Patrick Beja, and if you've been following me in the past few weeks, you might know that I did something a little bit crazy recently. I quit my job at a very prestigious company, cold turkey, to become a professional podcaster and media producer kind of person. And I started thinking, what show do I really want to do? And the Phileas Club shot right to the top of that list. The Phileas Club, for those who aren't familiar with it, is a show that tries to cover international news and affairs and current affairs, but in a really different and not boring way. So what I would do, the show ran for about 4 years from 2008 to 2012, and I would invite 2 to 3 people from different countries, different cultures, different backgrounds, to tell us how the news was being reported in their corner of the world. So we'd get people from France, the US, the UK, of course, Sweden, Europe, America, North America, but also South America and the Middle East and Asia and sometimes Africa. So the idea was to get a perspective that we wouldn't necessarily have on big stories that, quite frankly, we thought we had not figured out, but we mostly knew what all the angles were, or most of the angles were. And sometimes we'd also get stories that we never really heard about that happen to be a big deal in those parts of the world. So it's really all about perspectives and trying to look at our truths or our news in a slightly different way. And I really loved this show. I loved the concept, which is really cool. And I think it can only be done on the internet and maybe even possibly in that way as a podcast, because podcasts are relatively niche products, and it's okay to have just random people join the show and say what they've been seeing and experiencing. In a bigger quote-unquote medium, you would need to have much better production quality and all of that. If you're a podcast listener, you know what I'm talking about. But I also think it is an important show. It's a show that matters, that helps me and us contribute, however small way, to building a world with more understanding. And what I like to say is that it's a place where people can enjoy talking to one another instead of shouting at one another. And that's something that's a little bit too rare, I think, nowadays. And we didn't always agree. Quite the opposite, in fact. We often strongly disagreed. And that was awesome, because that was the point of the show, to bring different opinions together. However, what we managed to do was to keep a fun and friendly atmosphere through all of that. And I really think that if a show is dull or boring, then people are not going to listen, and it's really a waste of everyone's time. So that was also super important, to keep the show fun. And we had a lot of fun. And I like to think that the audience also had a lot of fun listening to a show like this. So what that created was a show with rational conversations and healthy debates, getting together people from around the world. Like, literally, we'd have to record on weekends because people were all over the world, time zone wise, and we couldn't, some people have to work. And those people could not agree on the most sensitive topics, and still we managed to have fun and to make friends. I mean, there are people that I met through the show that I'm still very good friends with now. It doesn't seem like that kind of thing should be possible, right? But we still managed to pull it off. And I'd love to do it again. I am going to be doing it again. But it's not something that is going to be making any kind of money. It doesn't really interest sponsors that I know of. I mean, I don't even want to go to sponsorships. I just want to keep the show as something between the hosts and the listeners. And if you think that this show is interesting, and if you think you would like to listen to it, if you think it deserves to be there, then I'd like to solicit your help. Just think about it. And if you decide that it's worth it, then maybe you can chip in a few bucks here and there. Well, not here and there, really. It's a set amount on Patreon, which I'm hoping most of you know. But if you don't, it's a system of crowdfunding where you don't get a huge amount of money to launch a project. You get a small amount of money that you commit to for every episode that is produced. So if you have a few bucks to spare, they're just, lying around and you don't know what to do with them, then please consider supporting the show and becoming my boss, since this is now what I do for a living. There's a couple of other things I want to say. The first goal on Patreon is to try and produce supplemental episodes where I would do one-on-one interesting discussions with one person from that pool of different backgrounds and countries and cultures. And maybe even, it wouldn't necessarily have to be a person from a different country or a different continent. It could be someone from a different social background that we never really encounter, stuff like that. So anyway, I'd like to do that too. And that would be maybe once a quarter, possibly even as often as once a month. And if that happens, it means that there would be 2 episodes per month. So please keep that in mind if you choose to become a patron. And second of all, there are some pretty awesome titles in the rewards section. So I hope you can you take a look at them and enjoy that as well, even though it's horrendously silly. So anyway, thank you so much for watching this video and listen to me babble on. And I will be talking to you very soon in the first episode of the Relaunch, which will be coming hopefully end of November. Thank you very much, and talk to you soon.